So it's January 6th, and I'm in my garden in the blackberry patch. I'm about to transplant these blackberries from the ground into some self-watering containers that I made in my garage so they can overwinter while being protected from the harsh elements. So I've had people ask me, well, why are you bothering to do this? Don't blackberries grow naturally in the wild in New England? And that is true. So to answer that question, let me explain the structure of a blackberry plant and their growing habits. So there's two parts to the blackberry plant. The first part is down here, which is called the crown. The crown is a lot more cold tolerant and lives for a long time. This is where the root system is. This right here is the cane. Now, the cane will only live for a maximum of 2 years, and it's pretty delicate. Now, canes can take on two different names depending on which year of growth. In the first year of growth, they're called primocanes. In the second year of growth, they're called floricanes. Now, some varieties, like the ones behind me, are called primocane fruiting varieties, which means at the end of the first year of growth, the tips of the primocanes will bear some fruit. The challenge is, in the Northeast, they fruit so late in the season that there's always a risk of frost. So it's very unpredictable as to whether or not we'll even get a harvest of blackberries. So the real goal is to get these primocanes to overwinter and turn into floricanes. And floricanes in the early summer will fruit along the whole length of the cane. The challenge is these floricanes are a lot more delicate than the crowns, which means they can easily succumb to really cold temperatures or ice, wind, or heavy snows. And then once they die, we're back to square one. All right, let's get to digging. Now, I got my first blackberry bush transplanted, and I want to leave you with a couple things about the container and the soil. I'm using a 20-gallon container. Now, there's no hard and fast rule that says how big of a container that you need to use when transplanting blackberries. I look at what the root spread looks like outside, and I figured that 20 gallons looks like it would be a pretty sufficient volume. Blackberries have a pretty shallow root system. They have a lot of small surface roots, but they do have a few strong anchoring roots that go fairly deep. So I figured that size would allow those anchoring roots to behave like they would outside. Also, I added 2.5 cubic feet of potting soil to this container and layered in some 555 granular slow release fertilizer. All that's left to do is get some casters on the bottom of this so I can move it in and out of the garage, and we're ready for the growing season.